Boom. There we go. There we are. So, hi, we are live. And here's hoping this actually works the way I want it to. But to double check, I need to do something real quick. I need to test if this thing is making any sounds. And by any sounds, I mean I need to check to see if this is doing what I want. Let's see. Okay, let's this one. No. Because I want to make sure that I can actually do this in such a way that the sound is good. So here we go.
Will the Goliath be attending?
Actually, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's do this, shall we? Do this one more time. The way I can do this properly. Because this is what I'm going to be working with. This is what I'm working with.
Long ago,
speaking over this just to make sure that I know exactly what it sounds like.
Kingdom of
and simultaneously, I can just do this.
Once the battlefield of gods and titans.
And
this is what I'm going to be working with. This is what I'm working with. Long ago, speaking over this just to make sure that I know exactly.
Okay, so it's a little too loud, methinks. It's a little too loud, but at the same time, I don't think I'm going to be talking over it too much. But hopefully the sound works fine. I apologize for the blurriness of the microphone? Webcam. I've tried cleaning it. I don't know what's going on. I do not know what's going on. Anyway, hi! Hi. I have wanted to talk about this show for a very long time. Problem. Every time I try, I end up pausing the video, I end up pausing the episodes, and I start talking about it instead of actually writing it. So, it was recommended that I just do this. So, this is what I'm doing. As a result, a lot of what you are going to hear from me is going to be off the cuff. Some of it will be me trying to remember what I already thought about it while not actually having it word for word. So it might be a little rough. But from the beginning, I'm going to let you know this. When I first heard of The Legend of Vox Machina coming out, and I mean like after it was actually confirmed to be coming out and not from like the initial announcement that Critical Role was making a TV show, I thought to myself, well, that's going to be shit. It's not going to be good. Now, I held off on watching it for a while because I was a little too proud to admit that I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to be wrong in my initial hunch. And I just didn't want to be wrong. So, while a buddy of mine and I were working on a character of hers for the D&D campaign, we put on Vox Machina because she liked it, and I think I got about 5 minutes into the first episode, and I had to talk about what was going on. I had to talk about it because I couldn't believe that they greenlit it. Since then, I've tried to rewatch it a couple times, and the way that I describe this show for the people who actually listen to me, thank you for being here, is I would compare it to The Last Jedi in the context of seeing things. Because every time I go and rewatch it, or every time I go to talk about X, Y, and Z things that stand out to me, I notice something else that I didn't notice before. That drags it down even further. Hopefully I can actually prove my point as opposed to it being just a rambling asshole. So yeah. It's not good. It's not very good. Now, I will have to admit that I've only seen the first 6 episodes more than once. I've only seen the whole season in its completion one time, so a lot of the stuff that happens after episode 6, I don't fully remember. So there are a lot of things that I will get wrong if I go that far, which I'm not planning to tonight. But I do remember plenty of things that happen in episodes 1 through 5, and a little bit of 6. Because I have seen those multiple times. Primarily the first episode, because I've seen the first episode like 4 times now, maybe 6 times. And I do this because a lot of the people that I say it isn't bad, a lot of people who say that it isn't bad, they typically do so because honestly, I can't speak for all of them. Many of them just enjoy the spectacle. Many of them just enjoy the sensation of D&D being put onto a TV show. That's fine. And many of them either just never thought about it, or they, for one reason or another, they don't think X or Y is a big deal. So I don't want to sound like I'm giving them a bad faith interpretation. That's just how I interpret how they justify it. Who knows? Maybe it's just fun. There's nothing wrong with that. I can't argue against that. I can't argue against, it's fun. Okay. I can't argue that. I will point out that that's not a... What's the word? That's not that's not a good method of quantifying the quality of what we're getting. Yeah, it's not. That's what I'll say. It's not a good measurement of judging quality, right? Anyway, before I get too deep into it, I want to make it abundantly clear for anything, either bots or people, because I don't actually know too much about the copyright laws. This is with the intent of pausing it and breaking down what makes it good, what makes it bad. Because there are good things in the Legend of Vox Machina TV show. Not many, but there are. So, here's hoping I don't get copyright struck. But it's Twitch, so it's unlikely on Twitch. From my experience. This is the Legend of Vox Machina. Now, we've got problems even from the very beginning of it. We've got problems even from the very beginning. Now, you might not think it, but let's actually just show you from the beginning. And I'll let it play out for a little second.
Long ago, in another realm, stood the majestic kingdom of Taldore. Once the battlefield of gods and titans,
I feel like I
its
should...
lands now harbor magic, wonder, and mystery. It was a time of peace. Until a great evil arrived. A brave group of...
Okay, yeah, so that's basically That's basically it for now. That's the opening narration for the show. That's the very first things we hear and learn about the world that we're about to experience. So, why is that bad? It's a different type of bad than what is going to happen later on in the show proper. This, I would argue, I would quantify under amateur or just lazy. and I'm not sure which one to go with. Because the purpose of an opening narration for any show, for any movie, is to establish or to explain something to an audience that would be too cumbersome or story halting to explain in universe. So, for example, let's just say that in this world, Harry Potter, easy. Let's say in Harry Potter, the titular main character already knows about magic. He already knows about magic, and he's just going to school. It would not make any sense whatsoever for a character to pause the story to then tell Harry, "Don't you know you need a wand to cast spells?" Because Harry would already know that. It doesn't make sense for and I know that's a very small example of it, but it's still an example of how if you don't properly explain or show, in some cases, the rules of a setting, you have to pause. You have to put the story on pause just to explain something that the characters already know, and that's not something that the characters would do. It's kind of this. Have you ever heard the advice? Don't try not to use the phrase "as you know" whenever you're writing a character or speaking to somebody else, because if the character already knows that thing, there's no point to that to being informed of it right here and now. It's a similar prospect with this. The narration here is incredibly generic. We learn nothing about the world that we are about to inhabit other than magic exists. But as you can see, As you can see, right here, we already know that magic exists. From this one character, we can tell that magic is a thing. So, being told that magic exists, that would be a useful thing, but it's not something that we need to be told, because we can be shown that. We know the gods are a thing, because we know that clerics are a thing. We see that. You could take everything that was said in this opening narration, pluck it into any other fantasy show, change the name Tal'Dorei to the equivalent kingdom they're in, and you lose nothing. There's nothing of value in the opening narration. Now, even in comedic shows, which I say some people, there's one person who told me that it's supposed to be more comedic this season. I don't know where he got that, but because someone did bring it up to me, I'll cover it here. Even if the show were more comedic in nature, the opening narration wouldn't be this generic. Now, there is something of a punchline at the end of this opening sequence, but even that just kind of asks the question, why was the opening narration even here? And this is why I can't tell if it's more amateur or if it's bad. Because, sorry, not bad, lazy. Amateur writing would explain their lack of an awareness for what an opening narration is supposed to do. But laziness would also explain why they didn't put effort into the explanation. So, until a great evil arrived. Okay. From what we understand, this great evil only happened a handful of days ago. So, what do we actually learn? And again, we learn that in subsequent scenes. So that's also something that we don't need to know in the opening narration. Yeah, so this next sequence of events, this one, I have a theory on this one. So, let's move on a little bit.
Heroes banded together, ready to face this evil.
All right, so this is where I want to emphasize something. This is going to be one of the only times that I can remember where you see characters look like this. This is the only time where you see that. This is the only time that you see something like this. When I first saw this, I couldn't help but remember something that happened, I want to say, a little over a year ago. There was a guy whom, if I remember correctly, was the son of the man who created Dungeons & Dragons to begin with. And he made a post that was about rejecting modernity and embracing tradition. In that image, in Reject Modernity, he had the characters from, I believe, the Mighty Nine. And in Embracing Tradition, he had a classic piece of art from one of the earlier D&D books, one of the D&D editions. Now, what he was trying to do was putting an emphasis on the fact that D&D has slowly devolved into away. It has devolved away from what D&D was supposed to be. It was supposed to be about heroic characters going on adventures and quests and going out into the wilds and fighting monsters. But here's the thing. Twitter, gotta love Twitter, they took that and tried to spin it into a racism. Because all of the characters in the original piece of art, despite not all being human at all, they were all rather pale skin. So, what's about to happen in this scene, when I first saw it, I could not help but think, oh, some people are angry about that. Some people are still pissed off about that. I could be wrong, though. That I have no evidence to back this up. It's just what I thought. Because what we see here... But even with that never actually being... even if that's not actually true, we do establish something very crucial here. This is an establishment of something very important and something very different from how D&D typically works, with the exception of, like, very specific examples that, that happen.
Hold fast! The beast approaches!
So we have this shot of a big monster that, meta knowledge, we know exactly what this is. And then, boom! Right there. You might not think that's much, but that's establishing something. That is establishing something that I don't think many people would actually tend to notice. Because it just makes sense. This shot just established that you can die with one hit. If something falls on you, you are dead. In D&D, there's a chance to live. There's a chance to live. Even if something is like a boulder like this falls on top of you, there's a chance to live.
What the fuck? You shall pay for it!
Gets killed immediately. Gets killed in one swing. Also, that sounds like a reference to Lord of the Rings, which is what D&D was originally based on. I like to think that emphasizes my original point.
Holy shit!
Dead by one. Dead in one shot.
Well, that was something.
Now that scene right there, that's establishing something very important that we will remember. All 5 of them died in one hit. Boulder landing on him, gets chopped up, gets crushed by a giant tail, gets burnt to a crisp by lightning. One shot. All of them. It establishes right here that the 1d4 damage from a dagger, that's still enough to kill you if you get hit in the wrong spot. Easy. Hold on to that. Hold on to that.
All of our mercenaries slaughtered like lambs. I
So-
state my case again, Sovereign Uriel. Send our army to challenge whatever this fiend is before it decimates the entire kingdom.
So, this is here the introduction of King Uriel, fake king, and his council, which only three of them really have a presence. We've got the useless mage, the blonde one on the left. We've got the red herring, I believe he's supposed to be a drow. The red herring drow, actual villain, and this scene suggests a problem that will be highlighted later on in the episode. The main problem being the fact that the writers of the show don't actually know how military and royalty works. They don't. We'll get to that in just a second. But it's going off of what this guy just said. Sending out our forces. He did say that, yeah?
Perhaps we have been ill-advised in our strategy, sire. I propose we attempt to capture the beast and use it as a weapon against our enemies.
I must object, Sir Fince. We don't even know what the creature is. Demon? Elemental? And how do you propose we capture it?
So that right there is sound logic. Not really gonna question that too much. You need to be able to find out what this thing is. That's true. If you don't know what this thing is, then you can't really deal with it. That's, should make sense. Should make absolute sense. Now, this is... Hold on, I'll let the... I'm calling him Fake King because that's not what he's supposed to look like, but that's a different topic altogether. I'll get to that in a little bit longer, maybe, if I remember to. So...
Lady Allura is right.
But sire...
I will not send our remaining army beyond the city walls until we know who or what our enemy is. We must find more mercenaries.
So, right there is what I'm talking about when I say that the people writing the show don't actually understand how military works, and especially how military works in a society that they're trying to depict here. They don't know what the enemy is. But they do know, as we are going to establish later on, that this creature, they know it's a creature because they've seen the destruction. They know it can't be just man-made things. They don't know what it is. But they do have a method of finding out. It's a very simple one. And it's a simple one that should have been implemented. But from what Red Herring is about to say, they never do that. Combining what Red Herring is saying and what we later find out, they never think to do this. And if they did, they'd probably know. He says that we shall not send our remaining army. How squandered is this king's resources that he doesn't have an army to protect his kingdom? That's what I want to know. So, what could you do if you are the king and there's this unknown creature decimating your people? Towns, villages, farmlands, all of it. What's something that you can do to find out what it is? Spies. Or, more accurately to the problem at hand, scouts. Every single branch of military have an equivalent of scout, to my knowledge. Literally, get in, grab intel, get out. You do not need to engage. You don't need to be seen. If you know that this thing is destroying villages and towns and farmlands, set up scouts close to those areas, but outside them. Send them in pairs, send them in squads, send them in whole garrisons if you need to. But the reason you do this is not to attack, it's not to engage, it's not even to capture, it's to get intel. As soon as you get intelligence, Allura over here, or useless wizard, that one, no longer an issue. You know what the thing is. Capturing it, we don't actually know if it's possible to capture what this thing is just yet. I imagine it would be. If you can kill it, you can probably capture it. I'm just saying. And you would also no longer have to worry about your armies being slaughtered. Because if you know what the enemy is, ideally you'd know how to equip them. But that's all just the immediate problem. They don't know how this sort of hierarchy would work. And the thing is, by the end of this season, if I'm not mistaken, they try to pass this on as the king's failures alone. They try to pass it off as his failures alone. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. This is a council thing. None of them suggest scouts. None of them suggest anything that would even remotely involve gaining the information necessary to find out what the hell this thing is. None of them do. Now, actual villain might have, if it's, who he was supposed to be. But more on that later, assuming we get to it. But let's continue.
And where, might I ask? The Taurian butchers are butchers.
So we have a couple of just... I'm not even sure how I would say this. How I would reference this.
Do not rest until you.
I feel like that's just a reference. I feel like it's just a cheap reference. Now, of course, with that line, well, we know what that means. We know what's coming next. We know what's coming next. Oh, this scene. It was this scene that made me pause the first time around.
That's right. Who's the best? Yeah!
Grog wins. Again.
So, immediately, this is fine. This is totally fine. It's been, I don't know exactly when it became the stereotype, but it's been a stereotype for a very long time that D&D parties would gather and meet in a tavern. They would begin their quest in a tavern. So, starting the introduction of the protagonists at a tavern is totally fine. I'm actually totally on board. I'm not a fan of the expositionary dialogue here, and I do quantify this as expositionary because... Let me move this back over here so I can actually do this. This guy right here, he's going to say something, and then she's going to say something that I feel they shouldn't have to say. I feel like they shouldn't have to say this.
Fuck me, why do we always play drinking games with a guy twice our size?
Because it's the fastest way to get drunk, obviously.
Who's drunk?
So, I don't feel like that's natural. I don't think that any of them are questioning why they have drinking games. I don't think any of them are fucking questioning that, especially considering that they have been to every single tavern in all of this kingdom. Which means they've done this a lot. They should not have to say this to themselves. But they're saying it to us, because we need to know. See?
Not me. I'm great. I think we should go to another.
And we've got some gross out humor.
Oh, it's so junky.
And once again, we're talking about like, oh, didn't you only have one ale? Again, that one, it's more for the reference. It's more for the, oh, see, she can't hold her liquor, and I'm actually fine with that. But it's coupled with what we just heard from the other two that's, again, if they've been doing this for as long as they have been, we shouldn't need to have this one say, didn't you only have one ale? Unless we're suggesting that that's not the norm, which I do not believe. I do not believe that's not the norm, considering, I hate to break this to you, but if you can hold your liquor in the slightest, unless it's some very, very fucking powerful stuff, you're not gonna get vomit-inducing drunk on one ale. As far as I'm aware, you don't even get like that if you have an empty or like full stomach. In fact, if you have a full stomach, from what I understand, it takes longer to get drunk because the food in your stomach is absorbing the alcohol. I could be wrong on that. I don't drink. I just live with a roommate who gets drunk on our streams every birthday. And it was around this part here.
Watch it, bitch.
So right here.
You watch it, dick nose.
Easy, Grog. We don't waste our time on talking assholes, remember?
So this is the start of the part where I just had to pause it, because what's going to happen next is messed up and blatant manipulation. Either that or the writers of this show don't actually have an idea of what morality is. Any of them are possible. Well, I'll get to that in just a moment. Keep in mind, that's all he really did. He said, watch it, bitch. Moved the drunk woman aside. Her name was Keyleth. Moved Keyleth aside and sat down at his own table. That's all he did. That is all he did.
Oi, Tavern Keep! Another round for Vox Machina, the greatest band of mercenaries in all the realm.
The greatest. I heard you couldn't even rescue a cow from a burning barn. Vox Machina. What a fucking joke.
So, that's it. That is all he does. They boast, the protagonists boast, and this guy, who I think his name is Agar, he's an assassin, and he shouts back after they start boasting. Now we later learn that this guy's not lying. We later learn that this guy's not actually lying. He's just telling the truth. We learn that that's what he's doing. But then, this guy...
Let's keep things civil, friend. We're not looking for trouble.
So, Vax here, that's his name, Vax, he comes up, brandishes a knife, stabs it... Oh, what the fuck is with this woman's face? Oh, shit. I never noticed that before. That is a fucked up face. That is... Ugh. Wow. I don't remember her face looking like that in the previous shot. Hold on. Hold the fucking phone. Yeah, it looks fairly normal there. It looks normal. It looks totally fucking normal. What the fuck did they do to the face? Okay, so it's looking kind of normal there. Okay, maybe I just paused it at the wrong time, but that face looks so fucked up. That looks like a fucked up face. What the hell was that? But anyway, where the fuck was I? Oh yeah. So Vax here walks up to him, who's literally not lying. He is not lying. He brandishes a knife, stabs it into the table that he is sitting at. And he says, no need to be uncivil, I think he says, right? Yeah. Let's double check. What exactly does he say?
Let's keep things civil, friend.
Let's keep things civil. Now, when you brandish a weapon... Also, where the fuck's his pointer finger? Where the fuck is his pointer finger?
What?
Alright, they just forgot to animate his pointer finger. That's fine. No, it's not, but okay. This is what happens when you pause things. Anyway, when you draw a weapon, you brandish it, and you stab it into the table of a man who's sitting down, and you say, let's keep things civil. That is instigation. You have threatened a man when you've brought out a weapon and stabbed it into his table. You are threatening with a deadly weapon. Because that is a deadly weapon, okay? That dagger can kill anyone with one stroke. As we have found out in the very beginning of the episode, if you are hit the wrong way, you will die. And we will find out later in this scene that you can suffer permanent damage if you are struck the wrong way. So, Vax, one of the protagonists of the show, is threatening a man with violence because he dared to say, "Watch it, bitch," and speak the truth when this guy and his party started to boast and brag about their accomplishments. Now, you can make an argument for rudeness. You can make that argument for being rude. You absolutely can. But this is escalation. This is not what this is not what someone you should root for is supposed to do.
They're not looking for trouble.
Says he's not looking for trouble after pulling out his dagger and stabbing it into this man's table.
Oh, I'll bet you ain't.
Now, and here's another thing. Manipulation. This is the manipulation part I'm talking about. Right there, they had the crowd go, when the big guy, Agor, or Aegon, I think it's Agor, we'll call him Agor, when he grabs Vax by the jacket. But they didn't do that when Vax stabs his dagger into the table. Hold on a second. Let me show you something. This is a dagger that I've got. It's a nice dagger. And I'm going to set this up so I can actually show you directly. Okay. This is the dagger I've got. This is just a good 8-inch dagger, and it looked like the dagger that Vax had was about the same length. Notice anything specific? This is right next to my face. This thing is as tall as my goddamn head. And, this thing can go clean through my head with enough force. If I were to stab this into someone, this thing can cause a lot of damage. You can kill someone very, very fucking easily with this thing. And in a world like this one, it's even easier. Agor never drew a weapon on them. He never did. Vax did. He escalated the situation. He threatened Agor. What Agor is doing right now, that is justified. He is doing something that's completely justified here and now. Now, they circumvent this with a joke. Let's go back to this.
Everyone knows you're a bunch of pathetic losers who can't get a fucking job. Look at you scrawny ass. Too weak to tickle your own pickle.
Now that's the only time he has made an insult that was not true. Because once again, we learn later on, I'm pretty sure after this scene is over, we learn that he's not lying. We learn that he is not lying, that these guys cannot keep a job. They can't. We learn this. He's not lying here.
You offering to help?
Yeah. Well, no, fuck you.
And so there's the joke.
Give me a hand.
There's the pun. I am glad I paused it at that exact frame. I am so glad, because that was going to be a hard thing to recreate if I missed it. Look at these two faces right here. Look at those faces, ladies and gentlemen. Those are not the faces of heroes. They're smiling like fucking madmen as they chop off a man's hand. Because this guy said the truth, mind you. Harsh, but true. Because he said something. They feel like it is within their power to chop off his fucking hand. And they're grinning like fucking psychopaths. Like, that's fucked up. And now see this blood right here. I believe this is the only bit of blood that you'll see. That's the blood. That's it.
I think he's willing. Ooh, can I keep this?
And then they joke about it, which is also messed up.
Don't just stand there gawking, lads! Get on!
And then we get the opening theme song, and this is where I'm going to be emphasizing. Actually, I'm going to turn this down a little bit because copyright strike, especially since I'm going to be talking ill-favoredly about this. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to the manipulation of the audience. So, it's never really been a secret that the people who make movies, they use music to emphasize what it is that the audience is supposed to be feeling at any particular moment. So, when Darth Vader just walks out from the shadows in the beginning of Episode 4, A New Hope, there's a specific theme that accompanies him. And you know he's the bad guy, not just because he's leading the army of stormtroopers, but because the music is emphasizing that. Whenever there's a movie like, let's say, The Mask of Zorro. I've been watching that recently. Whenever there is this high-octane fight, they use high-octane and more upbeat music because up until a certain point in the movie, all of it is supposed to be showcasing to the audience exactly how much better Zorro is to all of the other soldiers and all of the other swordsmen around him. I believe it's only by the end of it where you have the darker or different tones, just different I suppose, music to emphasize the severity of what's happening in those duels. This is the moment where Zorro could actually die. Here, after the protagonists, psychopaths, chop off an innocent man's hand, they try to trick the audience into thinking that this is all fine and good, that this is a great thing, by, one, they do two things. One, they shower you with an upbeat, heroic theme song, the theme song for these guys, right? And they're doing that throughout this entire segment. And they match it up with the motions and all that stuff, and it's all, and they throw in jokes and whatnot. Strangely enough, this guy right here, Percy, he's the only member of Vox Machina in this instance, aside from Scanlan, who's technically in the clear. Actually, hold on a second. I'm going to go back a second. I want to see something. Oh yeah, so he's standing. He is standing at this point. But the next time we see him... he's sitting down. Right over... he's standing up there and he's like, oh god. But we've got all this stuff, and it's just, again, it's the high, upbeat, positive music. Now, there's no real continuity as to where these people are. They killed him just then. They killed him. He's sitting down, and this is what I'm saying that when I say that Percy is actually one of the only two people innocent from Vox Machina here. He does not get involved. Now, you can make the argument that he should have gone in and stopped them, if I am saying that he's in the clear here. But, I'm sorry, what exactly did you expect him to do against fucking 4 of them? One of them being Grog? He, in this moment, is 100% in the clear. Even though he was with the others, he was not a part of the plan to chop off the man's hand, and he did not get involved until... right there. It was only when he was swung at with a deadly weapon did he get involved. This is self-defense. Now, I'd have to reconvene with a coworker of mine who's practicing law, but as far as I am aware, being in a group does not mean that you are responsible for the actions of individuals in that group. So, if Percy here did not have any knowledge that that's what they were going to do, and it looked like he was disappointed with them with, right? If he's staying out of it, he is more innocent than anyone else in the party. Now, we don't know what got them kicked out of the other taverns. So it's entirely possible that he did know something like this, or at the very least he suspected something like this was going to happen later. But as of right now, this guy right here, he's more moral than the other members in his party. I don't know why she attacked him, considering whom she was attacking before, but that's actually a question in the context of continuity. So, like, where everyone is in this tavern. Ideally, you want to animate it in such a way where you know exactly where everyone is. So there's never an instance of, wait, why is this person here all of a sudden? But honestly, I don't trust them to do that. I really don't. But we continue on this one. And so even then, even then, he technically had every right to shoot her. He had every right to pull the trigger because he just had his head almost chopped in two. He had every right to pull the trigger. But he didn't. He did not pull the trigger. Again, actual morality. It's a very, very funny thing. He gets... And then we do this thing.
Hi, Clove. Can you try to stay out of the way?
Hey, come on! You tripped over me!
I'll take that.
And now they're stealing from innocent people.
Bad, brother.
And this is where it's very, very, very gross and unnecessary. It is just fucking disgusting. Unnecessary. It's incredibly stupid.
Every time we go out drinking.
Every time they go out drinking. So this has happened every time. They say this specifically. Every time they go out drinking. That's fucked up. That's property damage. They brought in an attack bear.
Over here.
And that one's dead. That one is 100% dead. You get dragged out into the back way of an alley with a fucking attack bear, you're dead. You are dead. They've already killed one motherfucker with a bow and arrow before. They stabbed him right through his fucking chest. That's right over... That man's dead too. They've killed two people. In a bar fight they started.
Grog, step aside!
Bollocks. Where the hell is Scanlan?
Alright, so this is where I have to emphasize something. This show has nudity. Twitch. This show has nudity. But here's the thing. You allow this shit. You allow this shit on Twitch. YouTube allows it on YouTube because this clip is on YouTube. This clip is on YouTube. You can see it in all of its glory. This is completely okay on YouTube. This is completely okay on Twitch, right?
It's time for us to... Oh, for goodness sakes! Percy, the hell, man? If you want to join in, you gotta ask first.
Scanlan, I should have known. Could you put on some pants and help us?
And that's pretty much the end of this bar fight, and it's...
Gotta be shitting me.
Stop! First, you people drink me dry.
Yeah.
Then, you destroy my tavern. What is that gnome doing with my daughter?
It's probably best you don't know.
Who's...
Okay, so right here, they do it as a joke. They do it as a joke. It's not funny. How the fuck does she know? How the fuck does this fucking thing know? How does this thing know? Actually, hold on. Double checking.
What is that?
You gotta be shitting me.
Stop! First, you people drink me dry. Then, you destroy my tavern.
Alright, so this butch woman. That actually does a few things. Number one, confirms that these guys have been... They have a running bar tab. They've been drinking without paying for it, which, number one, stupid. This bartender should be very ashamed. You don't do that. Second, destroying the tavern.
What is that gnome doing with my daughter?
That's racist. Just calling him gnome.
You don't know?
That's rude.
Who's paying for all this?
Goodness, such a mess. Absolutely dreadful. But I can assure you, darling, Vox Machina will find those responsible...
Don't even try it. Money, now.
Well, you see...
They hide the money.
I don't have any money on us per se, but if you give me 5...
This is the only comeuppance they ever get, by the way.
Thank you, much appreciated.
This is the only comeuppance they will ever receive throughout the entirety of this season. They get thrown out of a tavern. That is it. That's all that happens. Okay?
Stay out!
Does this mean we're officially banned from every tavern in Amon?
Right there. Every tavern in Amon, they are banned from. This has happened multiple times. These are not good people.
Wonderful. We got no money, no place to live. Fuck all for prospects.
Well, perhaps if someone didn't accidentally decapitate the last fellow who hired us.
Well, I apologized, didn't I?
So, I know that you might be thinking I'm going to be calling this exposition. The thing is, not really. It's not yet. Percy right there is saying something that very, very easily could have been said in natural conversation. Like, well, maybe if someone didn't do this, you know, throwing shade and all that stuff, like that's one thing. That's totally fine. The problem stems from the fact that the show is going to try to convince us that these are good people. But he literally just said that Grog decapitated the last man who hired them. Now, we know it's a man because the people writing this would never decapitate a woman. Never. They'd never do that. I'm throwing shade. So, now, that's fine. That's totally fine. But it is emphasizing how much bad people these guys are.
We have a mountain of debts and... oh god, 3 silver to our name. We need a job. Anything at this point.
I mean, if protecting carts from swindlers and killing goblins for gold isn't getting us anywhere, I don't know. Maybe we could try doing some good this time?
Okay, so I need to mention something real quick. Those are good things. Those are good things. If you are protecting travelers from swindlers, if you're protecting them from others who would like to steal their goods, that's a good thing. Unless you're telling us that they were protecting corrupt beneficials. If they're protecting corrupt benefactors, that's one thing, but they never specify that. And killing goblins for gold? I mean, again, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Goblins are monsters. Goblins will kill you. They will eat you. That's a good thing that they are doing. Something else that the writers of this show don't actually understand. Do you have any idea how easy it would be to get money when you can do the things these guys can do? It would be incredibly easy. But that's the thing. That's another layer I would actually add to the manipulation factor. We love rooting for the underdogs. And if we establish that these guys are the lowest of the underdogs, if they're below even the underdogs, well, then we have to root for them because they're down on their luck.
Pike, ethics are a luxury we currently can't afford.
So, ethics are a luxury we currently can't afford. So, this is going to be stepping a little bit into meta-knowledge, but not so much that it's irrelevant. In the campaign that the show is based on, we know that... Let me back up a little bit. This one right here, we know that this one She handles the money. She's the one who is basically their bank, right? So, why exactly would it be the case that they're all capable of just spending all of their gold when even one of them could just be saving it? In fact, I believe it was actually referenced in the campaign proper that this guy, and I know that it's revealed much, much later in the show, he reveals that he is essentially a millionaire because Grog can't count. And because he can't count, he doesn't actually see value in the gold he gets. So it turns out he's got like the most gold of every single person in the party because he just doesn't spend the fucking thing, right? But even in show, this guy right here, Percy, he literally grew up as a nobleman. And despite what people believe, the noblemen had to be aware of what things were worth. They had to be. They had to be the ones to understand the value of coin. They absolutely did. Because they're the ones who made direct trades with other noblemen. They had to know. They had to know economics. They had to know currency value. So if ethics are a luxury they can't afford, why isn't Percy taking his share, assuming they're splitting the money, and just saving it? All of the cash I get, I put into a box. I don't touch it. I take $100 out of it every time I get money. And I mean, like, if I get more than $100, I put $100 in my wallet, put the rest in the box. That's saving. I don't fucking touch it. I've got a lot of money in that box now, strictly because of that decision. Easiest thing in the fucking world. Easy. And because he's a nobleman, he should know that. But again, the show wants us to feel bad for these guys, even though they just attacked an innocent man. So, yeah, it's a little messed up, all things considered.
Have you guys ever thought, maybe we're not really meant to do this?
Here's a good one.
Vex and Vax only care about themselves. Fuck you. Grog just wants to murder everyone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Percy barely wants to be seen with us in public, and Scanlan wants...
To bed everyone in the realm. Yes, you can say it, Keyleth. I'm not ashamed.
Honestly, why are we even together?
Well,
I don't think that was even 5 seconds of silence. Hold on.
Why are we even together?
Oh, no, I take that back. It was exactly 5 seconds. That was exactly 5 seconds of silence as she ponders a question that should be fucking answered. It's brought up here, never brought up again. I could hear that through my headphones. Jeez, he's having fun. That is also what I would like to consider expositionary dialogue. She mentioned something that every single one of them already knows. Now, I don't know what kind of conversations you have with your friends. I never go around my group of friends and I say, Carl, oh, you value anime a whole lot. Ed, you really like guns. Matt, you put great value in being a good police officer. I don't fucking do that. No one fucking does that. But because they wasted their opening narration on saying things that are very, very generic, and because they don't want to spend the time actually developing these characters in the first 2 episodes, they have to be... We, the audience, are being explicitly told by a character, this is what I think of you. It's very, very clunky dialogue. I do not like it. I shouldn't have to say I don't like clunky dialogue. And here's the important thing. Never brought up again. This is never brought up again. They never again question why they are all together. Never again.
While you're all moping around, I have to drain the proverbial basilisk.
And then they stop that somber moment for another joke. He's pissing on a man's knees.
Oh, apologies. Has a mind of its own sometimes.
What's the matter with you?
And rather than punting the fucking gnome for pissing on your goddamn leg, he just walks away crying. Punt the fucking gnome. I will give you money to punt that goddamn gnome. I hate this gnome. I despise him. I really don't like this character. I hate him more and more as the show goes on. I hate what he does, I believe, in episode 3. But who knows? We'll get to that. Not this night, but we'll get to that. But they immediately go from the somber, why are we even together? I have some massive baggage that I want to talk about, to, oh, here's a joke of the gnome pissing on an innocent man's leg and not giving a shit about it. Oh, has a mind of its own sometimes. I'm not going to apologize, really. I'm just going to half-heartedly do it as you walk away crying.
This is our purpose. Fighting for justice, for glory, protecting the kingdom and stuff. And most importantly, woohoo, lots of money!
And then, ball joke. Despite the fact that that's not how pants work. Trust me, I wear them. So it was in the middle of the night when that happened. It is now the daytime.
I see the sovereign looking like this?
Halt!
Okay, we'll take you in, but the bear waits outside.
Couple of things. The animation of this show is erratic. Sometimes the animation is fine, and other times it's bad. And I mean, like, really bad. Why the fuck is this guy's helmet going up and down when he talks? Why? That's not how metal works. And we know that's metal because...
Okay, we'll take you in, but the bear waits outside.
Come on. Come on. Give me the sound effect. I know there was a sound effect of them moving. I could swear that I heard it.
We're really gonna see the sovereign looking like this?
Oh.
Yep. We know that it's metal because we hear metal moving before the spears cross. We know that's metal. I mean, even without hearing that.
Okay, we'll take you in, but the bear...
Why the fuck is his fucking face moving? He's covered in a goddamn face visor. That it doesn't fucking move. Now here's another thing that just does not work. Let me ask you something. You are the king. Do you let 6 psychopaths enter into your castle fully armed and protected with magical stuff?
It's okay, buddy.
Oh, but the bear waits outside. You know, just a bear. It's not a special bear or anything like that. It's literally just a bear with armor. Yeah, the bear waits outside. Everyone else, you're like armed to the fucking teeth. You can go straight in. It's fucking stupid. It's really fucking stupid. And they should have been told to remove their weapons when they were at the door. They should have been.
Lady Kima, it is imperative.
But no, they just get to waltz right in.
Lord and Lady Briarwood join us.
Sire, Whitestone hasn't been heard from in months.
Our last messenger never returned.
They must be warned of these attacks. Send another guardsman straight away.
Humor.
I'm sorry, who the hell are you?
Vox Machina. You see, it's actually a somewhat clever play on words.
Honestly, we don't care. Sire, I warned you the notices would attract the scum of Iman.
Excuse you?
I think Sir Finch means a foe this deadly requires more season.
Krieg, don't bother with these drunken buffoons. Guards!
So, couple of things. This shot right here, I need to mention first, though. Never, never write a series where your king has guards that are afraid of drunks. Never do that. This is the most important man in the fucking kingdom. This is the most important man in the fucking kingdom. You do not surround him with scaredy cats. Oh, but it's a Goliath. Goliaths are huge and muscular and mean. And I thought the whole point of what D&D is supposed to be now is that there is no difference between the races. Oh, I'm sorry. There are no races anymore. They're races. Get over it. And a spear will go through a Goliath just as easily. And even then, if Goliaths are that much scarier, why is he hiring humans as guards? Second, and this is just something to mention.
Deadly requires more season.
Krieg, don't bother with...
So this right here, I'm convinced this is a drow. A drow on the surface, in daylight. Yeah, no. No. Essentially, what this is showing us is that Fince, I think his name is right.
With these drunken buffoons. Guards?
Buffoons?
Oh, no. I need to talk about this before. Fince knows their reputation. He knows they're drunks, and if he knows they're drunks and he knows their reputation, he should know that they are failures. He should know that they don't make any money. Once again, Aegor did nothing wrong. 100% innocent. He spoke the fucking truth.
Clearly, you've never heard of the legend of Vox Machina. Allow me to give you a proper introduction.
Oh, God, here we go.
Your
Okay. I hate his singing. I despise his singing. I'm going to skip over the singing. I'm going to skip over the singing because I hate his singing. And then vomit joke again. And then she's just asleep for some fucking reason. Why? Like, the thing is, why do they want to do this? Why do they want to do this? It's not funny. It's not clever. I know you didn't see it because I skipped over it because it's fucking terrible. I hate his fucking singing. Plus, it's far more likely to be copyright struck for his awful singing than it is the instrumental theme song. But we're supposed to like these people. We're supposed to like them. In the previous shot, right there, they've got this, very heroic pose. And then this shot. The only one who kind of looks like he's up in his own... Sorry, the only one who looks like he's able to stand on his own 2 feet properly is this guy and this guy. Why do they do this? Like, she should be over her hangover now. It's been half a fucking day. It was in the middle of the night when they were at the tavern last. The sun has been fully risen now. She should not be vomiting right now. She should not be sleepy like this, because she was wide awake in the previous moments, and I'm pretty sure she wakes up immediately after this, too.
Thank you very much. Okay. Give the council a moment to discuss your curious group.
You can't be seriously considering them for such a crucial task.
Once again, send scouts. Send anyone. You've got druids in this fucking world. Another thing that would have been very useful to know of from the opening narration: who has spells and who doesn't. Like, how rare are people who can use magic? What's the limit of their magic? What exactly do we have to look for in this fucking world? If they have magical people, this one is magical, this one is a fucking cleric, even though it's not what she's supposed to look like. Don't even know who the fuck this guy is. Maybe he's a Kratos cosplayer. But, like, this woman and this woman, they both have magic. They have magical items. Just send someone who has magic that can report back like that. Like, something, anything. Spies, that's all you need. Scouts, that's all you need. Report back.
Sovereign, their reputation is less than stellar.
Again, they have a reputation. Aegor did nothing wrong.
Well, they do have a bear. It looked quite ferocious. And
He never saw the bear. And if they were actually casting magic in the presence of the king, that emphasizes my point. Who knows about magic in this world? Who knows about what magic can do? They should never have been allowed to bring their stuff, including items that are magical or can allow magic to happen, into his presence. They should never have been allowed to do that. Never should have been. Also, a bear. Druids can turn into bears.
the song was entertaining.
No, it was not.
Give them a chance. Perhaps there's more than meets the eye with these warriors.
Eh?
Yeah, doubt it. Let's just call in Agar's assassins again.
Agar.
Agar apparently had his hand chopped off in a barroom brawl.
Oh, I actually almost forgot about this one. So, they know that they have connections. Agar's assassins. They would unironically be more suitable to this task than any of the mercenaries that they've had so far. Do you want to know what assassins are very, very good at? Not being seen. And if that pertains to getting information as well, which it should, guess what? Fucking use them. If you're not willing to send your own troops, the people that should be doing this, send Agar's assassins. Fucking do that. Even if Agar's hand is chopped off, do you really expect me to believe that the only people that are in his assassins group are the, 3 people that were with him before? Those are the only people with him? Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. There'd be more than that. There would absolutely be more than that. But this part right here, this is something that, how do I put this? This right here is the first example of inconsistency in the show. And I don't mean moral consistency, because that happens all throughout this fucking show. There is no morality. It's just, these guys are the protagonists, you will root for them. No, I fucking won't. I'm rooting for the dragon. Oops, did I spoil it? I know I'm bitter, I'm sorry. This right here, this character, Vex, she has the ability to sense when particular creatures are nearby. Now, there could have been any number of methods to indicate when this ability goes off. They chose to have it appear in the form of headaches of some kind, or migraines, or whatever you'd like to call this. I would like to point out that she's sensing danger from this room, and more specifically, this group of people. This group of people and this area that they did not move from. They didn't really change the distance from each other all that much. And yet, it's only going off now, several minutes after they walk in the door. The next time this happens, it appears at a much greater distance. What exactly are the triggers to this ability? Is it a proximity thing? Is it a time-focused thing? Meaning, if it's within a certain amount of time... Sorry, if it's within a certain distance for a certain amount of time... Or is it something like a quantity thing? Where like, oh, the stronger or the more... the grander the thing is, does it happen faster or stronger? Does it hit her stronger? I don't know. It's very inconsistent every single time it happens.
Very well.
But there's red herring.
Machina. Mainly because I like the bear. Lady Allura will accompany you to the Shale Steps, the village closest to the last attack.
So, the village closest to the last attack. They know where that is. Now, that's fine. Again, send the scouts. Send rangers. Send druids. Send rogues. Send them with a speaking stone or some shit. Send them with fucking anything.
So, what exactly are we killing, and how much are we making?
We don't know what you're killing, but once you kill it, all this is yours.
And she's wide awake now, which is alright.
How are we supposed to get there?
That's the important thing right here. That's a beauty, isn't it? It's nice and massive and does a lot of fucking damage. And it's mounted on top of a handy-dandy flying ship! A massive flying fucking ship. Also, look at the background, how fast this fucking thing is going. They have this flying ship at their disposal. They have it at their beck and call. Okay, I need to emphasize something. Because it's important for my point to actually matter. Well, it's not even that. Not even that. It's to put to bed something that someone might say. It doesn't matter what they would have done with the military, because the dragon is masquerading as the one who controls the military. This is my point here. That's what should have happened. That's what should have been done. The king should have mobilized his forces. He should have made this flying ship available to his scouts. He absolutely should have. Now, if it didn't work, fine. That makes sense, given what the audience later finds out in episode 2. But the fact that it was never used, and I'm just going to say this, of course it should have been used. And the only reason why I know that it wasn't used is because if this thing were being used, guess what? It wouldn't be right now a glorified taxi service. Something like this should be in use 24/7. From the moment the attacks were happening, the king, fake king, should have been using this thing with a collection of essentially fucking Air Force, right? He should have been using this as recon. He should have been using this to deploy troops quickly and effectively. You can fit an entire legion of scouts on this thing, drop them off at various locations near those towns and villages and farmlands, and then fly right around. You can just fly around constantly. We don't know what power source this thing takes, because we're never told. And if they're willing to send 6 psychopaths, why would you do that for 6 psychopaths if it requires fuel that can't be easily replenished. No, you wouldn't do that. That's like sending the fucking dreadnought to transport 6 Volkswagens to Hawaii for a special race.
I haven't felt that since... Isn't this ship amazing? There's 2 bathrooms downstairs. Hey, by the way, why are you both whispering like we can't hear you?
Can you mind your business for once, gnome?
So this is right here. This is a symptom of a problem that Vox Machina has just in general. It was somewhat mentioned. I say somewhat mentioned earlier on, right after the question of why are we together, and it's like 5 seconds of silence before they move on to a joke. They had a moment to actually, like, they had a moment to mention something important to the characters. But instead, Scanlan just shows up and goes, "I am comic relief. You don't get to know what that is just yet." It's annoying, is what it is. As to whether or not it is in character, well, honestly, I suppose we can say everything is in character for these guys because it's first episode.
As you can see, the creature has already razed 3 villages and miles of farmland.
Damn, that flying ship is going pretty fast.
To death.
This mission sounds kind of deadly.
And they have now established the stakes. If this creature is not stopped, the kingdom will starve to death. I'm sorry, why aren't you sending the army again? For the thing that will literally starve your kingdom to death if it's not stopped? Why exactly? Also, fun fact, whenever you are tracking something, whenever you are hunting something, there are tracks that you can follow to find out where it is and what it is. You can find out what something is based off of the marks they leave, the droppings that they leave, and, well, just studying the fucking thing. This is a problem that the show has definitely within the first 2 episodes, but it is emphasized in, I believe, episode 4. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in episode 4 it's emphasized even more. The show is very inconsistent with who knows what and how much is readily available or well known. The creature that they are hunting is a dragon. That's what it is. Now, we know that one of the characters, the Allura, she's fought a dragon before. The show will try to make us believe that there are differences between the dragons other than their elemental weaknesses / breath weapons. And I suppose just physical strength. But the fact is, all of the dragons, and I've got a poster right over there, all of the dragons look essentially the same. They all have 4 limbs, they all have a set of wings, they all have a massive tail, they all have a breath weapon, and they're all relatively the same sizes. Relatively the same sizes. I'd have to bring out the monster manual to double check that last one, but you get my point. If even one of them is aware of what a dragon can do, and you see this, unless you mean to tell me that this dragon was going out of his way to make it look different from the others, you cannot tell me that they would not be able to at the very least say, okay, this looks familiar. But again, the most important thing here is the fact that they've set the stakes of the kingdom will starve to death. Send out the goddamn Marines. For crying out loud.
Do you really want to do this?
Yes, this task is dangerous. Which is why.
And then, of course, they're going to be doing this thing where it's like...
Yeah, nobility and heroism is fine and all, but we're in this for the money.
I see. So it's coin over character. Not surprising.
Now, this one's more down to personal taste, I suspect. But not so much. I'm gonna steelman this. I'm gonna steelman my own position. The show is going to try and make you believe that these guys are heroes. But they go above and beyond several times to mention how much this is not going to be your typical hero story. Yeah, it's going to be a hero story when they're assholes and they're not punished for being assholes. I get it. Honestly, that I am willing to believe that it's a preference thing with this hyper-specific thing. Hyper-specific thing. But look at that fucking thing. It's massive! You can carry whole platoons on that shit.
The shale steps are beyond that hill. Good luck. Please don't fuck this up, as they say.
Thanks for the sweet ride. You'll be back to pick us up later, right?
Look at how fast it took off. Man, that would be very effective to transport troops, wouldn't it? It'd be... You know, that would... It almost makes you wonder why they don't just put a handful of scouts on that ship and just fly it all the way around, drop it down where you need to, and keep on flying around. Flying around until you see something. Also, I just remembered something. I don't recall if we're given a good view of the map that explains where... where is this? Roughly in the middle? Okay, 1325. Let's go back to the map. Let's go to the map. Is there... Okay, so that's the map that we're seeing. I don't see any real... I don't see any highlighted details. Let's go back further. Oh, wait.
Slaughtered like lambs. I state my case again, Sovereign Uriel. Send out...
Oh, come on. Fucking stop.
Our mercenaries. Slaughtered.
Don't fucking pause on me. I need to see this.
State my case again, Sovereign Uriel.
Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Come on. I saw it. I saw the fucking map.
We'll never fall to you.
I saw the fucking map on it. Don't pause on me right before... Sorry, don't pause. Don't freeze on me right before I can fucking see it. I need to know this. I need to see this. Don't fucking pause on me. Don't fuck... You're fucking pausing on me again.
Send our army to challenge...
God. Come on. Ugh. Okay, so
whatever this fiend is,
I saw something.
the entire kingdom.
Perhaps we have been ill-advised.
I was pausing again. Okay, so that's funny. It is literally freezing on every single frame where I know it shows us the fucking map that they're standing over. Fucking hell. God damn it. So I can't tell if they actually showed us the map in question, but my point is, I don't necessarily understand if there's a pattern. Now what I mean by that is there a pattern to the attacks on the villages? So for example, if there's a village here, and there's a village right next to it, if it goes like from here to here, boom, boom, devastates them both. Or is it village here, village way over to here, this one dies, then this one dies, this one gets left alone? I don't know if there's actually a pattern to it, which, here's the thing. I know that the show doesn't want to focus on that, so it's not going to. But that would be an interesting thing to know. That'd be an interesting thing for the characters to ask. Where are all of the villages that were attacked, and what is there a pattern to it? Right? Because if it's one over here, then one over there, then one way back here, and now it's this one. Well, that alone indicates a type of mindset. It's something that goes around and is targeting things specifically. If it's one after the other in the context of more like a domino effect, or it's like whatever's next in the line, that also indicates a pattern. You can find out so much about analyzing where and... Wait, is that... I'm noticing something a little wonky with the animation. I don't think we should be able to see this part right here. I don't think we should be able to see that. It looks weird to me. I could be wrong, but it looks weird. Anyway, it looks asymmetrical. Wildly asymmetrical. Anyway, the point is, this ship, this flying ship, if it is going in a straight line, you should be able to track it very, very easily. If it's not going in a straight line, that means that it's picking targets specifically. When does it happen? Does it have a particular time or a ballpark of time that you can analyze? I mean, hell, in Death Note, one of the methods that L used to figure out who Kira was was analyzing when the deaths occurred. Now, I know that that's a hyper-specific example that wouldn't necessarily have to take place here, but I'm telling you that this is something that I thought of right after seeing this show. There was no time for me to really think, and I instantly thought, well, what's the other information? I'm not getting any of the information necessary to tell you what should and shouldn't be done, other than send out the fucking scouts! But even then, like, what do we know? Tell me what we know. If we don't know that, how about we establish that? But if it's picking targets at random, you move on to the, is there a particular time of day, time of night, time of week? What exactly is this? Fly the ship around in various perimeters, watching out for stuff. Now, you can make the argument that, oh, well, the dragon will just attack the ship. The ship has weapons on it. It can move really, really fast. And, get this, they have magic in this world. We've seen that, and we're going to continue seeing it. But it gets even dumber.
Yeah, she'll be back.
That's fine. That line, that's fine. No problem with it. Not necessarily good, but who knows?
The last attack was just south of here. We're gonna ask around, see if anyone knows anything.
Ask around.
Excuse me, green friends. Have you seen
So,
any evil wizards?
okay, so this scene right here is emphasizing that she can talk to trees, right? Now, I was talking over it, but Pike, the little one, said that that's weird. I'm going to say this right now. They have been together long enough to be kicked out of every single tavern in the kingdom. They have been together long enough to know that they've had how many adventures with fighting goblins, protecting caravans from brigandines and all that stuff. You cannot tell me that they have never, ever seen Keyleth talk to a goddamn plant before. She can control plants. Like, no way. But they have to have them mention something because it's the first time the audience has seen it. Instead of just going, that also could work. Like, you could have Grog say that. It's like, that could also work. Or Pike could say the fucking same thing, too.
Nah, it was too foggy. All we saw was dark clouds. Lightning. We thought it was a storm.
Oh, you didn't see anything, huh? How convenient, Mr. Fisherman, if that is your real name.
Okay. Maybe let me handle the questioning, Scanlan.
Does anyone even like Scanlan? Genuinely asking. Does anyone like Scanlan? Because I fucking hate him. I didn't used to. I seem to recall him being quite nice in the campaign, at the beginning of it. Maybe I'm misremembering. It was a few years ago. I just hate him in this show.
I'm sorry about him.
You're a priest of sorts, aren't you? Could you bless our house? Protect it from this evil.
A blessing? Yeah, sure. No problem. Okay, here goes.
So, okay. I want to say that this is foreshadowing for something. But honestly, I don't know what to really make of this scene. Previously, we established that it was a stormy cloud and they couldn't really see anything. That's fine. We do a stupid Scanlan, or just Scanlan. And this scene right here is primarily... This is primarily just, oh, she's not perfect with blessing. This is not good with blessings.
Are you sure you're a holy person?
Yeah, I'm just out of practice. I don't really bless a lot of houses these days.
Thank you, dear. I'm sure it'll be enough to keep our family safe.
But the thing is, honestly, that's an interesting thing that they could explore. I don't think they ever do until later on when she goes to I think it's a monastery. But that's got its own heaps of problems in it that we'll get to that when we get to it. What exactly goes into the blessing of something? That could be nice. That could be interesting to see. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that she should be able to do it right off the bat. But at the same time, I don't know. I just feel like it's... How do I put it? How do I put it? What the fuck was I thinking? What am I thought about it before. I wrote it down. What the fuck was I thinking before? Fucking hell. I forget what it was. Instead, I'm going to say this. Instead, I'm going to be saying this. They know clerics on sight. Meaning that clerics are noticeable. This is fine. This goes back to the earlier part where who knows what is common knowledge, what isn't. It shouldn't be too much to ask for a cleric to at the very least know how to bless something. Now, the show wants us to believe that, and it'll be flat out stated by one of the characters later on, but the show wants us to believe that Pike is good. Too good. As in, like, she's the most virtuous of them. I have to beg the question. Why is it that if she didn't just bless the house, why would she lie to them? I don't necessarily know why. I'm not saying that that's inherently a bad thing to the narrative, because it, on the one hand, it does set something up in the context of, I'm not so sure about this, that, or the other, and that's fine. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, it's very sporadic when that happens. It's very selectively good. As in, like, It's very, very erratic when she is a good person, quote-unquote good. Man, I fucking had a big thing written down in my notes, and I don't know where I fucking put them.
Wow. Are you a wizard?
Nah, the magic's all in the fingers, kid.
Wow.
And now it's in yours.
Whoa.
That's real silver. Keep it safe.
It took 15 minutes. But in 15 minutes, we have our first genuinely good thing done by our intrepid, quote-unquote, heroes. And it's about a guy just giving a silver piece to a kid. I'm not going to applaud you for doing something that people should just fucking do. I'm not going to praise you for doing what you are expected to do. I'll get into this conversation later when a certain character gets brought up, but yeah, there's something I want to say. I'll bring it up when a different character shows up. But yeah, it's like, this is fine. This is fine.
There's a monster roaming about.
You mean flying?
What's that?
Something flew right over us. It knocked down the big tree on the hill. We heard wings beating, but we couldn't see it in the storm. But it was big. Really big.
Both of the kids just say literally everything that you need to know to figure out what type of creature you are dealing with. Now, I do mean that. I do mean that. The fucking fisherman, he's all like, nah, we didn't see nothing. We just thought it was a storm. But the fucking children, they're all like, oh no, it flies. We heard wings beating and it flew right over us. It knocked down the tree over there. It was big, really big. We got that because they gave a fucking silver piece to children. They've only been here for, in world, probably an hour, and they found this shit out. Imagine what could have been found out had you sent the scouts. Just saying.
Yeah.
Then they point up to that hill. Now, if this is what they're referring to, because I'm not seeing anything really toppled over here. This right here, those trees look to be, I don't know, maybe 30 feet tall, something like that. 30, maybe 50 feet tall. Actually, yeah, probably closer to 50 feet tall, because I'm using this one as a reference. 50, maybe 60 feet tall. That means that whatever this thing was flew so low to the ground, it knocked over the trees. Here's the thing. When you're that big, and you're that strong, because we know it's a dragon, why would you do that? Why would you fly so low to the ground that you would knock over the trees? I don't understand. But the big thing here is the fact that they have just found out massive clues that they could have, that the king, fake king, should have gotten very, very quickly. When you have something that can destroy villages and raise farmlands, immediately you're chopping things down in the context of what could possibly do this, right? So they reference fiend, they reference elementals, and, well, here's the thing. A lot of those creatures that fit into that department can't fly. But here, we've established that this thing does. We've established that this thing flies. That chops it down even further. Then, wings beating. Because not everything that flies has wings in D&D. That's something we'll get into in a second. So, that chops it down again. It is massive. It flies with wings. And it was physically strong enough to knock down 50-foot, 60-foot tall trees. Easy. Now, you can make an argument by going through the monster manual that not everyone will know what every single creature is. Right? You can make that argument very, very easily. However, that does not defend the show when you take into account that one of the characters in the council has fought dragons before. She knows what a dragon is. She knows that they fly using wings. She knows how massive they can be. As soon as she gets word of that, even if it's not a 100% certainty, the question should be in her mind, is this another dragon? Because I fought them before and I know how dangerous they can be. Those informations alone, like that one, actually, that tree might actually only be 30 feet tall or 40 feet tall. Because if she's standing right next to it, I think she's supposed to be like 5'7"? I think she's supposed to, yeah. I think she's supposed to be above average for a woman, but still shorter than most men. So, yeah, that actually might only be 30, 40 feet tall. Huh.
Get over here.
Oh well.
Trinket found something.
The tracks are too muddy to discern, but it looks like it took to the air and flew along the coast.
So here's my thing. That's another clue that they have to narrow it down specifically. Massive footprints. If it's too muddy to discern, that's one thing. You can't, like, you can make the argument that you can't quite tell if it's, the difference between a bear and a tiger. Fuck's sake, I don't fucking know. You can make that argument that if it's too muddy, you can't quite discern. But you can discern overall size. You can discern an overall size when it comes to muddy footprints. You absolutely can. The big problem is when she says it took to the air and flew along the coast. If these markings right here, here, and here are to emphasize massive talon marks, claw marks, that's one thing. But these are more clues. These are more clues to emphasize, oh, it's massive, it has wings, it flies, it has massive footprints, it leaves giant claw marks in the surface of a mountain. All of this should be written on a piece of paper and magically sent to the fucking Citadel. Or, fucking hell, just ask your druid to ask a damn bird. We've confirmed that she can talk to plants. Like, again, what are their limits? We have to assume that she can't do that by nature of them. Actually, no, we don't have to do that because they're stupid. Because, once again, they didn't send the fucking scouts, so fuck it, why not? But let's say that they're smart enough. We have to assume that she just doesn't have that spell, that she can't speak to animals. There's still many, many things that she should be doing, like writing this shit down and sending it out. Like, hey, these are what we found. Just so you know. Also, you shouldn't be able to track something when it's in the fucking sky. You should not be able to track something when it's mid-flight.
Think you'll be needing this.
There's the establishing shot. Easy enough.
Human.
They are now human footprints. Another clue. Should be putting things together. But something that I noticed about it the last time I watched this scene is something very, very subtle. I didn't notice it at first, but it's cheap. It's cheap. Pay attention to the fog in every shot. Every single time the camera changes and it's not like right up in someone's face, pay attention to that. Because like right here, we can see the trees in the background. We can see the ridge right here. We can see the trees back here. So we can see very, very far. We can see very, very far even with this mist. And every single time that it really like changes angles, the fog gets thicker. It gets thicker. And then it is so thick that you can't see. Oh, right there. Massive, massive cloud. Randomly. And then it is so thick that you can't see the trees behind it. And a dragon was hiding in the mist. It was that dense. The cloud was that dense that it hid a fully grown blue dragon. That's cheap. That is very, very cheap. If you're going to make a sudden reveal, don't do it like this. You can have the dragon be obscured in cloud. You absolutely can. I'm not saying that that's not something you should do on its own, in a vacuum. What I'm saying is don't have the establishing shot essentially be clear with a little bit of fog along the ground. It's a farming village. It's next to the water. Fog will happen. I camped by a lake for like 2 months. Every morning a fog rolled in. It happens. Don't change the density of the fog over the course of a handful of seconds from you can see the trees all the way to the cliff's edge to suddenly this, where you can't see any trees. Like even, I think that's a tree right there, like right in front of this fucking thing's wings. I can just barely make out a shape right there. It might be a tree. I don't even know if it is one. Yes, that's a tree. It was so thick that I couldn't see the tree in front of its wing. Don't do that. It is cheap, it's lazy, and let's go back just a second because this, I call her the cunt. But it's now, it is now so powerful that she drops to her knees in pain. That is not a good ability to have, by the way. And we kind of get the implication, based on the establishing shot, and the fact that we don't hear footsteps, that it's further away than when it activated in the throne room. Also, the lamb wouldn't do that. I grew up with farm animals. Especially the young ones. They don't run in the direction like that. They don't even run towards people that they are unfamiliar with. Not really. Not like that. But here we reveal the blue dragon! White Eyes Blue Dragon! Please kill the psychopaths! Now, it's a little unclear as to exactly what they do and don't survive. It's a little unclear as to what they do and don't survive, but remember what happened at the very beginning. If this thing strikes you, you should be dead. We know that this thing killed the original, the opening adventurers in one stroke each. We know it did this. One stroke. It can do that. That earlier shot where Grog gets flung into the tree, we know he wasn't struck with the lightning. We know he wasn't struck with the lightning because number one, in the beginning of episode 1, it vaporizes a man just by a passive swing. And I'm getting ahead of myself here, but in episode 2, when Grog is on conducting coins, When the lightning hits the coins, it travels to him, and we see the lightning bolt strike him. That thing had a concussive effect on the ground where he was running, and he was flung forward. So he wasn't hit with the lightning. It is so strong that it can bite through all of these trees with one bite. Oh, I think I noticed an inconsistency. Hold on. An inconsistency that won't become apparent until episode 2. Yes, I believe I did. But I won't know for sure until we get to episode 2. So it's able to do all of this. This is a massive, massive dragon, and he's able to lightning breath all of this. They are dead. They absolutely should be dead right here. But now we have the,
I suggest we run right now.
a smart call from Percy. And a moronic idea from Grog. Both are in character, I have to say. Nothing inherently wrong with that.
Dumb, brave asshole!
Dumb? Yes. Brave? No. 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 He's just dumb. He should be dead. He should be dead right there. He was bitch-smacked by this dragon who was able to one-shot people. He should be dead.
Grog's down already? Come on!
Oh, wait, no. I was slightly mistaken. The one shot earlier did not have what I thought it did on the dragon's neck, but it looks like they did later, so that's fine.
Haley, a little magic might help.
I'm serious trouble here!
Haley, snap out of it. Haley!
Caleb! Sorry,
This dragon has terrible fucking aim when it comes to the protagonists. Like, fucking hell, this is horrible. This is terrible fucking aim. What the shit? You were doing so well in the beginning, and you will do well in the beginning of episode 2.
Okay.
Keep in mind, for whatever reason, they don't have any money. They don't have any money when they can do this. She can summon lightning from the fucking sky.
Did I just make it worse?
And this right here is another establishing thing. The dragon is so strong that his lightning can break apart the surface of a mountainside. It is so strong it can do that. Also, hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I want to see something. Hold on. I could have sworn...
Oh, big. Everyone knows you're
Okay, why the fuck did I think that he had a mark on his left hand? There it is! There it is! There's the mark! There's the marking! Markings on his hand! It's gone here! The marking is gone from his hand! That's a nitpick, folks. That's a nitpick. That's not actually saying that it's horrible for the story. It's just a nitpick here. Okay? However, I will say it is very convenient for the story that it was in his bag of holding and then miraculously came out of his bag of holding mid-fight to the point where it is outside of the debris to convince the dragon that they are dead. It's very convenient that that happened. Flies away, and look how fast it was able to fly away. Also, where the fuck the hand go? Where'd the hand go?
So, this is what rock bottom feels like.
Percy, you shouldn't be saying rock bottom. We know what you went through. This is not rock bottom for you. You shouldn't be saying that.
At least we're still alive. Thank the Everlight.
And thanks to Keyleth for the giant shrub. But did you have to make it so thorny?
The dragon. He almost died.
Except we didn't die. Because of you, Keyleth. You hear me? We're alive because of you.
I'm okay with that moment.
Nah, just a flesh wound, no big. Question, is this normal?
Oh no, I'm gonna throw up.
Hold still, old friend. I got you.
So, from what we understand, this is, I think, the third time she's cast a spell. Third time.
We're all ready. Thanks, Pike. You're the best.
That took a lot out of me.
I got you.
Thanks. You can put me down now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Subtlety. Doesn't exist. Does not exist. So, this is something that I need to mention here and now because it's somewhat relevant. Grog should be dead from the one hit. He should be dead from that one hit. Because we find out at the end of episode 2 that there is a difference between what he's at right now and when he goes into a rage. We do know that there is a difference, and we do know that he chooses to go into it. Unless there's some very, very subtle animation, we didn't see him go into a rage. We just saw him run in, get bitch slapped, and he's down. Just so that I am not talking out of my own ass, I'm going to double check to see if he ever got up again. I believe the best part is right over here. Oh, yep. He is up. And as you can see here, he is up. He is up, and he does not have the markings on his left side. So the markings, the injury that he sustained was not caused by the dragon. Well, it was, but it was not caused from the dragon hitting him with his fucking mountain-cutting talons. It was not caused by that. Moving forward, back to that. He's got all that injury. Yeah, those are scrapes. Those are not dragon talon-sized wounds. Yeah, he just fucking hell. He just got injured by the fall of the debris for some reason.
Alright, fuck Uriel and all of this. We're done here. We didn't sign up for certain death.
Must I remind you, we gave our word to the council. That should probably mean something.
Oh, who gives a soggy anus about the council? The only word I care about is Scanlan Shorthalt. And yes, I know that's 2 words, but you know what I'm saying.
Unironic? It's okay. It pains me to say this. That line from Scanlan I did not detest. I didn't even think it was bad, because it's one of those instances where you just survived the encounter with a fucking dragon. You want to say that you only care about staying alive when faced with a fucking dragon. When facing with a dragon, you want to stay alive. You don't think you're going to survive it. You're going to stumble over your words. I'm totally fine with that. I get it. That's not a bad line. That's not a bad delivery. And as far as their positions are concerned, how they go about this is actually very, very intelligent. This man is saying right here that we did not sign up to fight a dragon, implying that dragons are very, very powerful. Dragons are known to be very, very powerful. And it implies that if they're anything lesser than a dragon, the story would be different. Not the story of Vox Machina. The plan would be different if it was not a dragon. Meanwhile, Percy here is saying that they gave their word. That should mean something. Now, we'll see if that actually lasts longer than one attempt. But let's actually keep on going.
Yeah, what have those fuckity folks ever done for us? Except give us a job and a bunch of gold and treasure and stuff.
They haven't given you the treasure yet. You have to kill the beast to get the treasure.
Fought a lot of things.
They have fought a lot of things. This is confirming that they've been together for a while. However long it's been, don't know.
But a dragon? An actual dragon?
It's not about the council or the contract. It's about these people. They need us. We can't just run away.
This is why I hate traveling with holy people. They're too goddamn good.
Pike.
The very next line Percy says, after saying we gave our word to the council, that should mean something, is this is why I hate traveling with holy people. You're too goddamn good. Quite the heel turn, Percy. It's almost like you didn't really give a shit about giving your word or keeping your word. You just said it for the sake of saying it in this scene.
This creature is beyond us. When Vax and I were young, one of those monsters killed our mother. I've studied dragons my entire life, hoping to find the one that did it. I can feel when they're close. A horrid pain in my head.
Then it's settled. We'll go back to the palace and get out of the contract.
You don't understand, Percy. I felt it there too.
So, I'm a little confused. What exactly does Percy mean by we gave our word? Does he mean given our word to the council not to just abandon it? Or did he say that to mean that we should at least try to kill the dragon? I do not know.
At the palace.
You're just telling us this now?
I'm sorry, I wasn't certain until the dragon... It's been years since Mother.
Are you sure, Vexalia?
I know what I felt. Someone on the council must have been in contact with the dragon, or...
So, okay. I didn't actually think there was going to be that much bad with this scene. And I'm going to be straight up with you. With the exception of how fast this is going. This is going very, very quick. We're talking about like 6 people that need to get a word in to make them feel like they're a part of the conversation. Like, but aside from it being too quick, there's nothing immediate without writing it down and going over it with a fine-tooth comb that I can say is bad, with the exception of remembering something very important. These two, Vax and Vex, they are siblings. They are twins. They both share the history of their mother being killed by a dragon. So when Vex says, I felt it, Vax should have been interested in hearing what she had to say, even if Scanlan interrupted them. Even if that happened, Vax should have had that in the forefront of his mind. Not the back of his mind, the front of his mind. He should have been thinking, okay, she felt something in the throne room. Given our history, she wouldn't have brought that up for nothing. As soon as Scanlan is not bothering anyone, a miracle can happen, I'll talk to her about it and we'll find out what's going on. Should be easy. So, and had that happened, like even if it were, I'm not sure, I felt something. Haven't felt that way since Mother. That again, it should have put them on edge, and it should have been something that, at the very least, Vax went to find.
I don't know, but I'm sure it was real.
And we walk away from all of this. It's not worth it. You heard her. One of them might be working with that monster. Let's just get the hell out of here.
With that monster. That's interesting because she just said that she can feel when they're close. Hold on.
Not worth it.
It's been years since... You don't understand, Percy. I felt it there too, at the palace.
You're just telling us this...
Feel when they're close.
Feel when they're close. Not feel when their influence is close. You can feel when the dragon is close.
I felt it there too. I wasn't certain until the dragon...
So...
It's been years since Mother.
Are you sure, Vexalia?
I know what I felt.
One of them might be working with the thing. That's not the thing that you should be taking away from this.
I don't know, but
you feel when it is close, not when its influence is close.
We walk away from all of
that you should know that a dragon is there.
You heard her. One of them might be working with that monster.
One of them might be working with. No. One of them is that dragon. If she is sure that she felt it in the throne room, that means that the dragon is there, or at the very least, a dragon is there.
Let's just get the hell out of here and never set foot in Amon again. Can we all agree on that?
Now, the strange thing is, what they're doing here is smart. You should not be able to kill a dragon at this current level. Don't even try to convince me that they could. They can't. They should not be able to. Walking away is smart. Now, of course, this is where we get the raining scene, which is atmospheric. It's fine, especially with... I think blue dragons are known for actually bringing storms with them, so that's totally fine. That's totally fine.
Oh no. It wiped them out. All of them.
I mean, what did you expect was going to happen? But because it happened to someone they knew, now it's a big deal. Now it's something important. All things considered, though, this place held up really fucking well. Like, unironically, very fucking well. They're barely torn up. They are barely torn up, and here's where there's hope. Hope lies in the darkness. They go to find whoever it is buried under that piece of scaffolding. A child yet lives.
Please, Everlight, let your power reach him.
Tyke, please.
Shit. No, I can't do it. I'm still too weak from before.
And now as the music just crescendos slightly, the child dies in his arms.
We could have stopped this.
Yes, you could have. But not for the reasons you think. I'll be right back. I have to grab something. I'll be back. I shall be back. Hold on. Be a moment. Yes, I am back. You touch a living creature that has 0 hit points. The creature becomes stable. This spell has no effect on undead or constructs. Spare the dying. a cantrip. So, and let's just double check real quick. Let's double check. Cleric spells. The cleric spell list includes guidance, light, mending, resistance, sacred flame, spare the dying, and thaumaturgy. You could have stopped this. You absolutely could have. Because Pike should have that fucking spell. If Pike is, as the show has been insisting that she is, that implies that Pike is a healer. Which means she should have healing spells. We know she has healing spells, but what's something that a healer has in your back pocket just in case those spells wear out? Spare the dying. A cantrip specifically designed, very specifically designed, to save the lives of people as they are dying. As far as I'm concerned, it's Pike that killed that kid. Because cantrips do not take anything from you. You touch a thing, you say a word, and you stabilize them. Injured? Yes. Dying? Nope. No longer. This is something that I have been waiting to touch on for an appropriate moment. And depending on who I'm talking to, it comes up very quickly or it comes up very late. The show, The Legend of Vox Machina, does not know what it wants to be. It does not know if it wants to be solely Critical Role. It does not know if it wants to be Dungeons and Dragons. It does not know if it wants to be generic fantasy. Now you can make arguments for having a combination of these three, or having two out of the three. Obviously, it's Vox Machina because obviously it's Critical Role because it's Vox Machina, and obviously it's D&D because they use D&D styles, I guess. But the point is that if you are going to use D&D or Critical Role, you need to take into account. You need to account for all of the things that you can do in D&D. So, clerics, they have Spare the Dying. It's one of the better cantrips that they have. Out of all of the games that I have ever DM'd for, and I've been doing it for a few years now, never once have I ever had a cleric in my party who did not have Spare the Dying. Whether or not it was ever used is irrelevant to the fact that every single one took Spare the Dying. Because it is very fucking effective. Either for the players that are dying or NPCs that the character doesn't want to die. Very, very simple. It doesn't cost anything. And this is my point. If they're trying to be D&D, Pike should have been able to save that kid, no problem. Because he was alive, he was dying. But he was alive. Spare the Dying, he becomes stable. Easy. Very, very easy. And that also includes if it's either D&D or Critical Role. Either one of those things follows that same concept. But if it's generic fantasy, you can select which spells do and do not exist for the sake of your narrative. That's what I'm talking about when I'm mentioning it doesn't know what it wants to be. It has this identity crisis because it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. This scene right here, when you don't know Spare the Dying is a thing, well, it can be effective. It can be. I mean, I would argue that I don't believe these characters would actually give a rat's ass. I really don't. Percy, maybe. Vax, Maybe. Pike? Yes. But with everything that we have seen from these characters, I do not believe they would really be moved by this too much. They know what the dragon has done. Like, did they really think that if they that leaving would prevent this from happening? Like, they know what this is. They know what has been happening. Oh, so they need to be shown what this thing is. No. They shouldn't have to be shown what this thing is to understand what's going on. And this goes all the way back to the very beginning, where it's the opening narration. We need to know. We need to know what is possible and what is not possible. Because from what we have seen, she's too weak from before. From what? From what? She didn't really cast that many spells during the fight. She didn't cast that many spells at all during that fight. Unless, of course, you're trying to say that magic is directly tied to one's physical abilities. Like, if you have been beaten up, you can't cast spells that much. Or you can't cast spells that well. That's what I'm saying. It's differing from the source material that it is based on, and is establishing its own rules. We, as the audience, need to be informed of what those rules are. Otherwise, literally anything can happen at any time, and that does not make for a good story. It's like I finished my root beer, right? But I never told you this. But if I put this down on top of a Mountain Dew bottle, magically it will refill. Doesn't make any sense, but I never said it couldn't happen. It's my own story. If I never mentioned that, and it just randomly happens, and it doesn't take anything from this, opens up a lot of questions, doesn't it? But when I say that it's smart of them to walk away from this, I am specifically referencing that it is smart for them to acknowledge that they can't fight a dragon. They should not be able to fight a dragon, and what they should do is walk away, return, and inform them of what happened. Then tell them, we're walking away. We cannot fight this dragon. Not enough gold worth our lives, okay? Because I hate to say this, if they all did it, that's one thing. But we know one of them shouldn't. Pike absolutely should not. At the very least, she should go to the castle, knock on that door, and tell the king it's a dragon. Absolutely, she should do that. Because that's whom the show has told us that she is. What they're about to do next is incredibly stupid. Because they can't fight a dragon. Should have. Again, we could have stopped this. We should have stopped this. Yes, I agree. Pike, you could have stopped that. You should have stopped that. Because you should have had Spare the Dying. It's one of the first fucking things that you get. You should have had that. Unless you're telling us that it doesn't exist, at which point that'd be very interesting to know. Or if it's something connected to your physical abilities, that's also something we should know. Or if it's connected to something that happens later, I believe in episode 4. That's also something we should know. Because you do spells perfectly fine after this. Until, conveniently, episode 4. And you had no reason to think that your powers were in any way hindered.
What the hell are you doing, Scanlan?
Thinking of a rhyme for dead dragon?
'Cause I guess we're killing one.
I'm in. Oh. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm terrified, out of my mind. But I'm in.
And now we're going to have a bunch of dialogue moments.
Feeling things. On the inside, they don't feel right. So yeah, I'm with you.
That was actually well stated, Grog.
No, it wasn't. Don't try to gaslight me like this.
What was?
Never mind. Count me in as well.
You guys.
Again, I have to emphasize this. The show is doing this thing where, like, in the background, they're doing the whole musical score thing where it's elevating, right? The music is coming up, and they're doing this rousing speech, this proclamation that they will fight this dragon. Again, like, did they seriously think that the dragon would not be doing this if they did or did not go to face it? Like, you guys are actually kind of selfish. Like, this dragon has killed hundreds of people already, but because it killed the one guy we like, now we're gonna take it down. I'm sorry, I can't get behind these 6 psychopaths. I say psychopaths because they actually committed a fucking assault with a deadly weapon. Had they not done that, they'd be sociopaths.
We're doing this.
You all realize we're going to die a truly horrible death.
Perhaps, sister. But we'll die gloriously.
Ah, and the sun comes up.
Fucking dragon.
And the sun comes up at that exact moment. Are you sure you don't want to vomit, Keyleth? Are you sure you don't want to vomit and ruin this moment too? Scanlan, are you sure you didn't want to make a gross joke? But that is episode 1. That is episode 1 of The Legend of Vox Machina. And it is very bad. It is very bad. Something that I'll mention now, because it's already been 2 hours, and I'm not sure if it's worth going through another one just yet. But episodes 1 and 2, one of their big problems as episodes for the season is in the fact that you can separate them completely and you lose nothing. After episode 2 is done, nothing of any relevance comes from it or is brought back to it in later episodes. Not once. Except in like the very, very, very end of the season. They do this thing in episode 3 where they're like, oh, we have to unify for the sake of like protection, and they mention like, oh, there's a greater evil at work here. That's it. That's it. From what I remember. Again, haven't seen episode 6 onwards more than once, so it's entirely possible that I am simply misremembering. However, one of the big things, very big things, is the fact that you can skip these episodes. You can completely skip these episodes and you lose nothing. You don't get anything necessarily from watching the first 2 episodes. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. You can have an origin story and that's fine. You can have an origin story, but if the origin story has zero connection to the actual plot, then you need to give us a good reason why we're seeing it. So let's say that they actually did have a connection between the first 2 episodes and the rest of the season. What could that look like? Well, honestly, with what we have here, I would want a total rewrite. A complete and total rewrite of the first 2 episodes, because otherwise I can't think of anything. Because so much should have happened between what goes on at the end of episode 2 and the beginning of episode 3. So many things should have happened. They should have had the first season. The first season should have been what they did before the Whitestone arc. That's what it should have been. It should have been an entire season, or at the very least, half a season of building up the world, and then at the tail half, that's when things really start kicking off, and the season finale is. You see, I want to be faithful to the campaign, but I can't remember the big events that happened before Whitestone. Oh, I know what it is. The opening episodes of the campaign that we saw that was being broadcast was their attempt to go in and rescue Kima, I think her name was? The gnome cleric. Or maybe it's the hobbit cleric. The short cleric with red hair. Or maybe she was a paladin. I think she was a cleric. Have that be your season finale, where the first half of the season is them adjusting to their new stations, and the second half is them being trusted, or rather, them going in themselves to rescue Kima. Because she is underneath somewhere, but she's surrounded by mind flayers. That could be a nice first season. It's a completely different type of threat than a dragon, so you don't ruin the stakes by having them defeat a dragon in episode 2, and then physically defeat another bad guy in the finale of season 1. That's the thing. They destroy the stakes at the end of episode 2, and I'll get to that probably sometime later, because it's already been 2.5 hours. But yeah. But I will say this. I do need to do this. Because this is very relevant. This is relevant to a point I've made earlier. Okay, does this work? Yes, it does. It still works. Nice. Okay, so this part here, not actually relevant. Well, it is. Big problem. I want to talk about this so fucking much. See how fucking far they are from the castle. That's part of the army. I thought the king said that he would not send their armies beyond the walls. But no, I'm going to be... right now, something of a teaser. I'm going to skip all the way to the ending. This right here is... Think of this as a juxtaposition. Remember how the protagonists were introduced at the beginning of episode 1? This is how the characters are introduced at the ending of episode 2. These are going to be the antagonists of the remainder of the season. So they come in, and they are riding on this... I'm not even going to...
Something blocking the road.
Can you go around it, Desmond?
Allow me, my love.
And this is all that's happening. He's getting out to move a log, and that is when...
Well, ain't this a lucky night? Looks like royalty to me. What do you say, gang?
Oh, he's a fancy one. We want everything you and the missus got, unless you want to be gutted like a fish.
What are you, deaf or something? Empty your pockets.
So, just to recount what just happened. You have 3 people in a carriage driving along the road, minding their own business. They are stopped, and these highwaymen literally threaten them with weapons drawn. Now, pay attention to the music and the visuals. Are you paying attention to the
I
visuals?
hope it wasn't too much trouble, Silas.
Delilah, my dear, it was nothing.
Now, that's it. Well, aside from that, of course. Ah! And then cut to black. So, I'm just going to use this. Alright, so this is the juxtaposition. Throughout that fight scene, very brief, you did not hear upbeat, triumphant, heroic music. You heard dark, ominous, villainous music. And what you saw was an abundance of blood. A lot of blood. The camera focuses on that blood. This is a part of the manipulation. You know, bunch of blood, you know, blood gets under the pain expression, mad eye, and then a bunch of blood splurting around, guts spraying on everybody, blood's on his hand, somber music, blood on the window, and then it drips down, and it keeps on dripping down, wipes the blood from his hand.
It was nothing.
And then, of course, the somber music, not even somber music, the eerie music, the uncomfortable music, the violin slowly being strung, and it gets higher and higher as we realize the evil is coming to Tal'Dorei! Here's the thing. What the antagonists did were 100% justified. 100% justified. Here's why. And let me break it down for you. They're minding their own business. They are stopped. Highwaymen get out of their... They stop them. Highwaymen stop them. And they literally draw their weapons and they threaten them. They threaten them. They offer them a deal. Be civilized with us and we won't be looking for trouble. So, yeah, I went there. The Highwaymen practically did the exact same thing Vox Machina did, in where they drew weapons first, they threatened the Briarwoods first, and when the Briarwoods defended themselves, it's seen as villainous here. But Vox Machina, if you remember those fucking sadistic faces during that particular fight, right as they chop off Agar's hand, they had the exact same crazy look in their face. They had the exact same crazy look. They had the exact same crazy look. The exact same fucking crazy look. Oh, because the eye is like veiny and stuff like that. Oh, it's red. It's a red eye. Because he's smirking. Like, look. They threatened him. They threatened his wife. They threatened his driver. You can make the argument that because he's a vampire, he's fine. It'd be similar to what Captain Marvel did to the Dawn. You know, he couldn't have harmed her, so there's no reason for her to do what she did, especially since she just tortured him. It's different here. He is a vampire, and unless they do a thing where they conveniently change the rules of a vampire on us, which I would not doubt in the slightest, they also threatened his wife and the driver. She's mortal. And as we learn from what happens at the end of the season, his wife can die by normal means. she can die by regular ass blades. They threatened his wife with violence, weapons drawn, and one of the swords was right by the driver's neck. He has every single justification to kill them. But because the music is very eerie and dark and violin-y and very villainy, and because they focus on the blood, they are trying to manipulate the audience into thinking that what they did is villainous, but what Vox Machina did was heroic. Now, we know that the Briarwoods are actually... Yeah. This is the look of a man who's literally protecting his wife. And they're trying to say that this is a bad thing. Think about that for a second.
I hope it wasn't too much trouble, Silas.
Delilah, my dear.
But it's a very interesting thing, Vox Machina. So many elements of this show are just really, really bad. And yet, from what I've seen on the Amazon website, a lot of the reviews are positive. And so at the end of this, I need to mention the reason. I have been asked why I care about this so much. Even by people who also hate the show. And honestly, it's true. I honestly don't know why I care so much about this show when it's this fucking terrible. Until I realized something. Or rather, I remembered something. The people who write this show, they have direct connections to the people who own D&D. They have a lot of pull when it comes to the people who play RPGs in general. Meaning that everything that they do here, which is seen as successful, not good by the way, just successful, there's the possibility of it bleeding into other things. It has the chance to be bled into D&D. It has the chance to be bled into any RPG, any video game, any movie, show. And we're just going to be given worse and worse content. That's the reason why. Aside from it just being very, very bad. Aside from being just very, very bad, they have so many connections. They have direct pipelines to other properties that I enjoy. I literally paint models because I enjoy D&D so much. I fucking paint models all the fucking time. It's what I like doing. I like telling stories. You watch my streams, I DM Dungeons and Dragons. It's what I enjoy. I enjoy telling stories. Fucking hell, this one. This one right here, Copper. It's a character that I want to play myself. I know you probably can't see it too well because my camera's fucking just blurry mess. If it were a bad story, that would be enough. That would be enough to wonder why so many people like this show. And it would be enough for me to want to try and put this out there somehow. But the fact that it is this bad, and people still like it. The fact that it is this bad, and they have a direct connection to the people who make the game. Sorry, who are writing the game. They didn't make the game, they bought the game. And the fact that it was greenlit for a second season, and I believe a third, when the only thing they're getting is praise. They're only getting praise from what I can tell. Why? I genuinely don't know why. Now, good friend of mine, Beers, he does enjoy the show. And I realized that there was a particular question that I could ask to try and figure out what was going on. And so I asked, how would you pitch the show to me? What would you tell me about the show that you would use to try and say that this show is good and it's worth watching? Now, I feel like I asked that question at the wrong time. Because if I remember correctly, it was he essentially said that he would just give me his opinions on the show, and I kind of realized that's fair. But I would love to pose the question to the people who like the show, like, what could you tell me that is good about the show? Like, what could you tell me to convince me to watch it? Basically, is what I'm saying. Like, what would you do to tell me that it's good? Like, if I hadn't seen it before and I didn't really want to see it, what could you tell me that could possibly make me watch the show? I don't know. I'd like to know. But in any case, once again, I just like to put an additional emphasis on this real quick. Like right there, like they physically threatening, drawn with a deadly weapon. Drawn with a deadly weapon, intent to cause harm, if not kill, because I believe she says gutted. Also, actually, real quick. Huh. I just realized something. With the exception of maybe this guy, I think this is a second group of only white people.
He's a fancy one. We want everything you and the missus got, unless you want.
And they are brutally butchered.
Fish.
What are you, deaf or something?
Not enough to confirm, because 2 is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern. They haven't gotten to 3 yet. It's just a coincidence.
Empty your pockets.
But yes, ominous music. Blood! Utter shock! Fear and expression! But, again, it's blatant manipulation. Oh, look at all that blood. Look at all the guts and blood on the floor. You didn't see that when Agar got his hand chopped off. You didn't see that. You didn't see all that. Didn't see the blood splatter either.
I hope it wasn't too much trouble, Silas.
I feel like I'm repeating myself now. Because I want to talk about this so much. Because this is not good. And I say that both in the context of writing quality and in the sense that this should not have been given a second season. This should not have happened the way it did. Like, I would have reworked the whole thing. I absolutely would have. I would have had the first season been about, like, exploring Amon, learning about the things in the show, establishing a norm that the characters go through, and then ending with the big mind flare thing, rescuing Kima, and, you know, the first 2 episodes, I would have made 3. I would have made them 3 episodes. Because again, it's just event. I never mentioned this. Oh, I'm sorry, I never mentioned this. It's event after event after event in episode 1, and I believe episode 2, but I'll cover that sometime later. There weren't weren't any real quiet moments where the characters just sat down and talked and were just themselves. There wasn't a moment like that where, you know what, let's compare this to Star Trek. Not a fair comparison, I know. But in Star Trek, there were so many quiet moments at the beginnings of episodes, and even in the middle of episodes, where the characters there wouldn't be anything big happening. There wouldn't be this big event or a go here, go there. It would be the characters leading the scenes, directing the scenes, conversing with each other, and you learn about who they are through their actions, through their choice of words, through their conversations. And hell, you can even learn things based on how they hold themselves. And I actually do think that this show, when it's not trying to shoehorn in really stupid jokes, when it's not trying to do that, I think it does it fairly well. I mean, hell, even in the beginning of episode 1, I commented on how Percy was the one guy out of the initial 5 who was completely innocent. Why? Because of his body language and because of his refusal to get into the fight until he was attacked. That right there, that's good characterization right there. Not a single line of dialogue was needed, and we learned so much about him. But you can't say the same thing for virtually any of the other characters. I mean, hell, even that thing where I noticed that Pike was just asleep after being introduced for the second fucking time. Or first time in the context of, actually, no, she wasn't. No, she was not introduced by Keyleth during that forced exposition. My mistake. When she was introduced for the first time in the context of, like, through the musical thing, after that she's just asleep. That's not characterization for her. Because everything else prior and after that scene, that shot, tells us a completely different story of what she's supposed to ultimately be. And that's all coupled with dialogue as well. So it's not like they can't do it. It's that for whatever reason, they just don't feel they can? I want to say that. I feel like they don't think that they can do it, because they do a lot of just expositionary dialogue. You know what? I should stop saying expositionary dialogue. I should say unnecessary dialogue. It's unnecessary. Expositionary is something else. I should not use that too loosely. Because if you use something too much, it loses its potency. Unnecessary dialogue. That's what I'll do. But yeah, it was episode 1. Got through it all. I'll get to episode 2 at some time later. As of right now, I want to get something to eat. And I also need to change the laundry. Because I started this when I put the clothes in the wash. I need to put them in the dryer. But anyway, almost 3 hours worth. Almost 3 hours worth of that stuff. And I am very happy that those of you who did stick with me actually stuck with me. Thank you for that. I really hope that on some level I've explained why things aren't good in this show. I really hope I have. And when I have rested a little bit, I'll come back and do episode 2, because I want to get that done as well. Because there's a lot of stuff in episode 2 that really don't make sense. I don't recall if there's as much bad things in episode 2. And I say as much in the context of really big problems. Because there are big problems in episode 1, primarily being the primary fucking thing being, we're just not going to send our scouts. We're not going to send our military. You know, the thing that we're supposed to fucking do. But anyway, I will catch you all later at some point in time. And here's the thing. if you're at any point in time going to be writing a D&D campaign or a show based on a D&D campaign, have it make sense and take your time. Take your time. Because even if this were a 1-to-1 for D&D, you need to have something that explains that. Anyway, good morning.